Hey there gamers, welcome back to the Board Game Co channel, and today we have a preview of Tomb Raider: The Crypt of Chronos. Hey there gamers, it's Professor Meg here, and welcome back to the Board Game Co channel. Today we have a preview of Tomb Raider: The Crypt of Chronos by Crystal Dynamics. Now this is a current crowdfunding campaign, so you can check out the Kickstarter link down below. This is a sponsored video, and this is also a prototype copy in front of me. So it's all rules, components, and things like that subject to change. For example, these are not the final miniatures, but this is going to be a solo campaign game where you are playing through as the Tomb Raider herself, Lara Croft. Now it's going to take you through the story of the Crypt of Chronos, where there are going to be multiple ways for you to be able to play the game, but you're going to be able to play through chapter by chapter through a campaign, unlocking the story and escalating where you're able to carry over the things that you find along the way, all trying to fight against the Notla organization. You're on the island of Kairos and you're trying to find this fabled Chronos artifact, and this island only shows up once every 200 years, so you know it has to be extremely special. But for those that can find the artifact, are able to manipulate time in ways that I can't really explain. But the Notla organization is trying to get there before you, so they are fighting off against you, and you have to get there before them over this series of chapters. But on the island of Kairos, there's also different things that are already there to fight you. So there is the natural wildlife, such as snakes and bears and wolves, but there are also the protectors, which are the inhabitants of the land that live there all of the time, trying to protect the artifact from everyone, including you. So you're going to be fighting off all of these different types of enemies in different ways. So you are going to be able to use both your guns and melee combat to fight them, but you may also try to sneak around and not engage in combat for certain scenarios. So there is that main way to play where you're going to play through the campaign with the different chapters, but there's also ways for you to set up and play shorter ones. For example, you can just play one of those chapters, but there's also an island mode where you're set to set up a 3 to 4 hour experience that is all completely randomized that you're able to play through from start to finish in that setting. So there are a couple ways for you to play the game, but that being said, all of the core mechanics are going to remain the same, so we're going to go over those now. If you'd like to see exactly how this game plays, I did a playthrough of the first chapter that you'll be able to check out on the channel. Now, slight spoiler warning, but this is the first chapter of the game, and again, just to preface, this is a prototype copy, so this is a printed out sheet. This would normally be an actual campaign book and in full color and everything like that, but this is going to show you how you're going to set up the different chapters. So here we have chapter 1, your introduction for why you are there, and then it shows you how to set up the map tiles, not only which ones where, but how to orient them, because they will be spun around depending on the different scenarios that you're playing. And then it's going to show you where to start, set out the starting tokens, and the objectives that you need to meet to be able to win this scenario. So for example, this one here is going to have you collect this artifact here. You have to get over to the artifact and then additionally pick it up. And then you also have to perform both the search and research actions. So those are going to be actions on your board over here that I am going to go over what they all are, but you can see that the first chapter is kind of trying to enforce you to use the things that you have available to you and how to get in and out and maneuver around enemies. Now, for the terrain, there's always going to be 3 different types of terrain that you're going to have available, and in the jungle, it's going to be colored as you see here, but depending on where you are, it will change. But it's always very distinct with the type of terrain, so it's pretty easy for you to see, but anything that is green is just the regular jungle, which is normal movement. All of these stone areas, as you can imagine, are buildings, and they're going to be a higher elevation, so it costs you additional movement to move up and down from it, but you're then hidden up in that area from people that are below, and you also have a bit of a disadvantage when shooting from up higher, because it is obviously a little bit harder to be able to see those targets, but anyone who's down below is not able to attack anyone up above at all. Now, the third type of terrain is going to be these spikes here, and that's going to be blocks. So those are going to block movement, and that's going to be really important for things such as these wolves who attack at melee range. So you would be able to kind of hide away from them with things that block. However, they do not block line of sight, so they are able to see you. You're no longer hidden, which is very, very important in this game. So blocks will definitely be placed throughout to kind of hinder you in the scenario that you can see this is forcing you to unlock that door, come through this corridor, and then get this artifact where it kind of blocks you in and there's no way for you to get around that, and you can also get bottlenecked in that area from enemies. Now, I mentioned that in this chapter you have to do a search and research action. So now I'm going to go over the phases of the game, and then that will kind of show you how you're able to take actions as Lara. So the first phase is going to be the Lara phase, and then after that is the enemy phase where enemies will move and then attack you, and then after that is an event phase where event cards will be drawn. So starting off with the Lara phase, players are going to have 6 Lara dice available to them that they are going to be able to choose what actions they want to do, and then they will roll them for those actions. So you don't roll the dice at the start of the turn, you choose what you want to do and then roll them. So for example here, if we wanted to move, the movement action is move 1 space per die. So no matter what, if we choose to use 3 dice for that action, we're already moving 3 because you move for every die. If you fail, then you will make noise on your starting space, but if you succeed, you're able to move up to 1 space for each success shown on the dice. So let's do a movement just to show you what that would look like. Beautiful, we have 2 successes. So with our 3 dice plus 2 successes, we are able to move 5. And we would be able to even move straight forward and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this enemy would still not see us. So we're currently hidden, and enemies are able to see in a 3x6 grid. So he's only able to see up to right here. So we would be in danger if we moved over toward these spots. He would then see us and move toward us and attack us. But right now he's just going to patrol because we haven't made any noise and we are currently hidden. So he's just going to go on his basic movement. Now, lucky for us, he's going to move straight forward and then turn clockwise until he's able to move more. So he's going to move toward that area of the board at the beginning of the chapter. So it's okay for us to be on this side right now. Now, for the Lara phase, we spent those 3 dice on movement. We'll move them over here, and then we still have 3 dice available to us for other actions. So the search action, as I mentioned, is going to allow you to search for different things in this bag for different resources. So you choose however many dice you want to allocate, and if you get all failures, unfortunately, it's no action. However, you don't make any noise, so that's really great. If you get 1 success, you're able to draw 1 from the bag, but if you get 3 successes, you are able to draw 3 resources from the bag. And just to show you what sides are on the dice, there's the failure, success, there's also a double success, and then the symbol that is a time with kind of a rip through it is going to have you sacrifice an event card. I'm going to talk more about event cards in the event phase, but just know that you could take one of these and discard it to be able to turn that into a success for yourself. Now, these resources are drawn at random from the bag, but as you can see, there are all different kinds of resources. So I just want to show you that there are quite a few, and there are also these gold treasures, which are the wilds, which can be used as any type of resource. So I'm going to talk about what the resources mean when we go over to the crafting board. First, I'm going to go over more of the actions, but searching is how you're going to gain those resources to be able to spend them later. Now, another thing that you're able to do is melee attack, but it is very, very dangerous because if you are not successful in killing that enemy, then it will immediately attack back. So you are able to use it, but it can be very, very dangerous. However, if you're hidden, for every success that you roll, you deal 2 damage. So it is very good if you're hidden, you're kind of able to do a sneak attack. However, it can be very, very dangerous to do so. Now, another thing that you're able to do is hide, and when you're hiding, you can only do it if there's no enemies on your tile, but you're able to hopefully roll to be able to become hidden. So if you gain 3 successes, you become hidden again, so you'll be able to flip that token back over, but if you only got 1 success, you would be able to re-roll with 1 fewer die or no action. So if you completely fail, you would lose an event card, but if you get that 1 success, you could choose to stop with no negative effect, or you could choose to continue rolling. For example, if you rolled 4 dice, somehow got all failures, you could choose to roll those 3, hoping for the 3 successes for it. So that would be that one. Now, both search and research can only be used once per Lara phase, so you're only able to do it once, but the research action is how you're going to gain these research cards over here. So if you get no successes when rolling, again, you choose however many dice you want to roll. So you can choose what you want to do for the research action. But if you get no successes, you would place 1 cube onto this research area. And if you get 1 success, you would instead place 2 cubes. However, whenever there are 3 that are placed here, you gain a research card. So if you were able to place the last cube there, you would gain 1, but if you got 2 successes, you would also gain 1. So just to take a look at what some of them are, here we have skip the enemy phase. So that's something that you're able to do exactly when you need it. There's also a hide. So that's something that you're able to do. Dodge a trap, which is going to be in the events, which I'll go over soon. But you can see where these are all things that are going to be very, very beneficial for you, that you're going to want to get as many as you can to be able to hopefully change anything bad that is happening to you throughout the game. Now, finally, we have dodge, and dodge is going to allow you to hopefully avoid damage when enemies are attacking you. It is going to be at the cost of dice for your future turn, so it can be a little bit risky because you'll be rolling less dice later, but if you really need it, it is a way for you to avoid taking damage because, as you can see, you only have 10 health. Now, to talk a little bit about the crafting board, you are able to craft different things for these resources that you see here. So you're able to gain ammo, which is going to let you add successes when attacking. You're also able to gain a med pack, which is going to heal you from taking any damage that you may have taken. And then you're also able to gain special dice. So you're able to gain these dice as additional dice for a future turn. However, these are returned back to the board the turn that they're used. So it's one-time use. You can continue to make more and be able to use them, but once you use them, they are returned back. However, something that's also very cool is that you are able to wait and use them on a turn that you think you need them. So you don't have to use them on the next turn. It's just that once they are used, they are put back. Now, for 5 of every resource, you're able to gain a particular thing. So you're able to gain either a weapon, outfit, or ability, but if you're able to spend 7 instead, you can draw 2 and then keep 1. So you'll be able to do that to gain different weapons, upgrade your gear for your outfit, or you'll be able to gain additional ability cards that you'll be able to place here, where you'll be able to roll your dice to be able to use those instead. But Meg, how do we attack? I'm sure that's what you're asking yourself, because that's what I'm always asking myself, is how to attack in every game. And I did show you how to melee attack, but you saw that there was no action for actually attacking. And that's because when you're attacking, you're using your different weapons, so you're going to use that card instead. It's exactly like using any of the other abilities, but you're going to choose how many dice you want to use, and then you're going to choose the weapon that you want to activate. So here you can see we have our dual pistols, and you can see the range that they have in front of them. So we have to be shooting either 1 spot or 2 spots in front of us. So let's say, for example, Lara was over here. She snuck up behind this wolf, and she was able to attack from the back. We would be able to use our weapon to attempt to shoot. And the dual pistols have this special ability, which is that they must be rolled in pairs. So let's say, for example, we choose to use 2 dice to roll against this wolf. It has 3 health, so we should be able to kill it. But this also shows you the power of the weapon, which is 1, meaning that for each success we'll do 1 damage. But it's also going to make noise. Now, that's okay because there's no one else around, but it is going to make noise. So we'll roll our 2 dice. And we got 1 success, so that's going to deal 1 damage. But we are able to spend ammo instead of us having to discard for this success. Either way, the 2 damage wouldn't have been enough, and it would not have been a successful attack, but we are able to spend our ammo. So here we'll spend 2 ammo to add 2 successes to our attack, and that will then kill the wolf. And him being a standard enemy, we're actually going to be able to draw a resource from the bag because we took him out, and that's our reward for doing so. So that's what attacking is going to look like, and you are able to attack multiple times on the same turn, but you have to use the same weapon. So I would be able to use my dual pistols on a different enemy again, but I would not be able to change out to a different weapon in the same turn if I had another one available to me. Alright, and I'm just going to put things back a little bit because I want to show you the enemy phase and what would happen. So right now where we are currently hidden, if it was the enemy's turn, if we spent all of our Lara dice, and it moved over to them, they would then move. So they're going to patrol because we did not make any noise and we are currently hidden. So the wildlife is going to move forward, and he's going to move forward until he hits a block. So he would go 1, 2, 3, 4, and even after that he would be able to move up onto the high areas. But once they hit edges of the map or the different blocks, they'll then turn 90 degrees and then continue their patrol. Now, if there is a sound, they'll move toward that sound, but that's not necessarily bad, because if I made a sound, for example, here in this area, I might be far away by the time they're reaching that point. Now, as long as I stay out of their line of sight, I'll continue to be hidden, and that noise will kind of go away once they reach that area. However, if they ever see me at any point within that 6x3 grid that's in front of them, sorry, 3x6, I will become seen, and then everyone will start to target me. So no matter what enemy is on the board, they will all target me, regardless of if they're able to see me, how far they are from me, anything like that, until I'm able to go hidden again. Now, finally, after that, we have the event phase, and I'm just going to show you some of the events that are able to happen. So here we have, this is actually a beneficial event, and the event deck is going to be very, very important, because every time you shuffle this through, the Natla organization is going to advance. So you don't really need to worry about exactly what that means, but in the scheme of the campaign, they're going to get more and more powerful, and once they are, you're going to be playing with the invaded side of the event deck. Now, this will be able to flip back and forth, you'll be able to make them less powerful, but once playing with the invaded side, you can see that they're doing much, much worse things to you. So this is a beneficial card, but if you use the benefit, it's removed from the deck from the game. So it's removed for your entire campaign, and you would gain the 2 resources, so you may choose to want to do that before you know this is going to flip for the Natla organization. But that being said, in a regular turn, you're able to just discard this and treat that as a nothing happens, which, trust me, is good, because anything else is going to be really bad for you. So even nothing happening is still very good. Now, taking another look, this one is going to be a trap. So this is rush, all enemies move and attack again. So that's not great, but all the enemies are really going to start moving in. That's a very, very scary card. Here you have ammo. Again, this is another one that is beneficial for you. Here we have enemy spawns. So this shows you the type of enemy that's going to spawn. This one is the wildlife. If it was on the other side, it would be the Natla organization. But here the enemy is going to spawn, and that's when you're going to roll the enemy die. So you would roll this. We have a 1. The 1 is over here. So you would take that enemy and put them over here, and oh my goodness, that's as close as you can get without them seeing you. But yeah, so that's where they would end up, and that's luckily during the event phase, so you are then able to have the Lara phase before they would have their turn. As soon as they turn, they would see her, but oh my goodness, she could take him out with a melee attack right now. So that's what the enemy spawning would look like. And then here, just to give you an example of a trap, here we have fire. So you can either choose to jump and take 2 damage, or you can disarm and lose 2 cloth. So you can do one or the other if you have the resources to be able to spend and you wanted to do so. Otherwise, you would have to take the damage. Now again, you're able to make med packs, but taking damage can be really, really scary over the course of the game, because whenever you die in the game, you will lose these dice toward your campaign, making it that you always have 5 every game, and then 4 getting harder and harder. Now, being a campaign game with a relatively short arc of the 15 chapters, there is a lot for you to gain to upgrade your character with the different weapons that you're able to craft and the outfits, the abilities, everything that you're able to chain together. But you also are able to kind of get through all of that pretty quickly, that you feel very rewarded when you're able to gain a new weapon and craft the different things that you need to when you need to. So this game definitely has you build up your character and has you customized to the different things that you want, but you're also able to do it kind of quickly that you feel as powerful as the chapter ahead of you. Now, there are also challenges for the different chapters that can make things even harder. So if you've played through the campaign and you want a bit of a challenge, it's not recommended for your first playthrough of any of the chapters, but there are different challenges for all of the chapters where you're able to play through something a bit harder instead. Now, there are also bosses that you're able to play through in the game where they are going to be a whole lot scarier than the regular standard enemies. They drop a bit more resources and you're able to stack damage on them, but they're going to be very, very scary when you encounter them. So that's when being hidden and what you're able to do when you stealthily attack and try to move away from them is really, really going to come into play, because the way the terrain is built out for all of the different scenarios, it's very, very intriguing with how you're able to maneuver around and truly feel like Lara Croft, where you're shooting at your different enemies, dipping down behind somewhere, showing up somewhere else, and then shooting at them again, and hopefully they're not following all of your different movements. Now, just to go over some of the things that you're able to craft, I wanted to show off just some of the weapons that you're able to get. So here you can see the Spectre rifle, which actually has to shoot pretty far away, but oof, that range is absolutely beautiful. You have a bow, which is actually silent, which is very, very cool. Here we have the Spear of Ares, which is similarly, it doesn't make any sound. We have a Hades RPG though, which has an area of effect, so it would attack all of those enemies, but you can see it only has 1 ammo, and it also, it definitely makes a lot of noise. It does a lot of damage, but it makes a lot of noise. So that's just some of the weapons that you're able to see. And then some of the outfits you're going to recognize from the Tomb Raiders that you know. But here we have the classic Trinity. We have Nevada, Immortal Guardian, Antarctica, Jungle Heavy, Gorilla, etc. So you can see all of her classic outfits, and they're able to give you different things. You can equip a 3rd weapon, amazing things like that. And then again, the abilities are going to give you additional actions that you're able to do on your turn. For example, we have here Plan. If you fail, it's no action, but for 2 successes, view and rearrange the top 3 cards of either the event, weapon, outfit, ability, or research deck. So you can really choose anything you want for just 2 successes. You can plan out, you know, a lot of future decks and the things that you want to do. So where crafting costs you a lot of resources and it can be tricky to build that up, something like this can be really, really cool. We also have Dismantle, which again, for a fail is no action, but for every success, you may swap 2 resources for random new ones. So that's a way for you to go through the resources again to try to find different things that you need, but that's going to be what the abilities are able to do as well. Now, as I said, there is the Island Campaign mode. That's going to give you about a 3 to 4 story arc where you're able to play through a campaign, and it's going to spawn everything for you with the different areas where it's going to be very, very unique, and you're going to be able to spawn different things to give you a lot of replayability to play the game in different ways all the time. And then on top of that, you're going to have the 15-chapter regular campaign of the Crypt of Chronos, where you're playing through the story, trying to stop the Natla organization and figure out what you're able to do with this cool gadget that you're able to find at the end of the campaign. Now, for me personally, I always love games where you are bartering time for the different actions that you want to do. I really like that you're able to choose exactly how many dice you want to do for the different actions, so it's really up to you what you want to choose to do. And as I said, there are multiple paths to victory. You are able to attack your different enemies, but you're also able to stealth and really sneak around. You may lean into the research cards because they're really, really cool and can really buff things for you, but also trying to craft through and find the different weapons and outfits are going to be very, very important, especially early game when things aren't too scary, so you're able to get cool stuff for yourself before the really scary people come, such as the bosses that you're going to have to fight off. So I think there's really a lot to this game, and I hope you check out the Kickstarter link down below for everything that they have planned. This has been a preview for Tomb Raider: The Crypt of Chronos. I've been Professor Meg, and thank you all for watching the Board Game Code channel. I'll see you next time. Bye!